welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something that, well, touches so many of you. Speaking English not just correctly, but fluently and with real confidence. We know that feeling, that moment right before you speak when hesitation kind of creeps in, that worry about getting it wrong.
Yeah, that fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our goal in this deep dive is to explore some really effective ways to move beyond those stumbling blocks and communicate more smoothly, more comfortably, and, with genuine self-assurance.
That's right. And just to get us started on the same page, let's maybe clarify what we mean by fluency and confidence in this context. Fluency isn't about being a walking dictionary, right?
Right.
It's about expressing your thoughts and ideas with a more natural flow, without those long pauses as you search for every single word. It's like the rhythm of communication.
Okay. And confidence.
Well, confidence. That's the inner belief in your ability to communicate effectively, even knowing that you might not be perfect. It's about feeling comfortable expressing yourself.
Exactly. Perfect grammar is definitely a worthy aim. But it's not the be-all and end-all of effective communication, is it?
Not at all.
It's the ability to share your thoughts and connect with others that truly matters. And that's where I think genuine confidence takes root. So we've immersed ourselves in a range of insights to bring you some truly practical techniques, shifts in how you think about language learning, and those daily habits that can really propel you forward.
Okay,
let's dive into the fascinating world of the mental game behind speaking English.
What's fascinating here, and it came up again and again in our sources, is how much of a barrier fear can be for English language learners. It's not just about a lack of vocabulary or, grammar knowledge.
Right.
It's the fear of making mistakes, the anxiety of being judged by others, even the vulnerability of simply not being understood. These are powerful emotions, and they can really act like a mental block.
It's like having this relentless inner critic that just amplifies every little slip up.
Yeah.
So what practical steps can people take to quiet that voice?
Well, one key insight is simply accepting that mistakes aren't just a possibility. They're an inevitable part of learning any language, even your native one.
That's so true. We all stumble sometimes.
Exactly. So think of mistakes not as failures, but as data points revealing the specific areas your brain is still mapping. Each mistake is kind of a clue to guide your learning.
Like a scientist using experimental errors to refine a hypothesis. I like that.
Yeah, it's a crucial reframing. And closely linked to that is the power of positive self-talk. It might sound almost too simple, perhaps, but actively challenging those negative internal statements, that voice that says, I'm just not good at English, and replacing them with more encouraging affirmations like, okay, I'm steadily improving, can have a surprisingly profound effect on your confidence. You're consciously reprogramming your inner dialogue.
It really is about retraining your brain's response. And what fuels that positive shift, it seems like consistent action is key.
Definitely. The more you actively engage in speaking, even if it's just for a few minutes each day, the more your confidence will naturally build. It becomes a positive feedback loop,
Yeah, it feeds itself. And here's a technique that might sound a little counterintuitive at first, but can be incredibly effective. Actively trying to think directly in English.
Ah, yes, bypassing the translation step.
Exactly. How does someone actually do that, though?
Well, it takes deliberate effort, of course.
Yeah.
But the core idea is to gradually skip that mental step of translating from your native language.
Okay.
So instead of formulating a thought in your first language and then trying to convert it into English words, try to form the thought itself directly in English. Even starting with simple things, describing what you see around you, narrating your immediate actions like, I'm making coffee now.
I see.
It helps build a more direct and intuitive connection to the language. Bypassing translation isn't just faster, it actually allows you to start thinking with the English language's inherent logic and rhythm. It leads to more natural expression.
Like internalizing the melody, as you said earlier, for music. Okay, so we're starting to understand how to tackle the mental side. Now let's move on to some really concrete techniques that can help your spoken English flow more smoothly. The shadowing technique was highlighted in several of our sources. Can you explain what that involves?
Absolutely. The shadowing technique is basically like being an echo for a native English speaker. You listen to a recording, maybe a podcast, a news report, a little bit of conversation.
Right.
And you immediately repeat what you hear as closely as possible, almost simultaneously. The key here isn't just about the words, it's about actively mimicking their pronunciation, their intonation, the musicality of their speech.
Good ups and downs.
Exactly how their voice goes up and down to emphasize things or show emotion, and even their rhythm and speed. It helps train your mouth and ears to the natural flow of English.
So it's about capturing the whole sonic landscape, not just individual words.
Yeah.
Okay. Another technique that stood out is the storytelling method. How can that help improve fluency?
The storytelling method. With this, you choose a story. It could be a simple fable, a news item you read, even something that happened to you.
Yeah.
The exercise is to retell that story in your own words. Start simply. Just focus on getting the basic sequence of events right. Then, as you get more comfortable, you gradually layer in more details, richer vocabulary, maybe more complex sentences.
Right.
It's a fantastic way to practice organizing your thoughts in English and speaking for a sustained period. It really builds your speaking stamina.
That makes a lot of sense, linguistic endurance, like you said.
Yeah.
And here's one that's accessible anytime, anywhere, no partner needed. Practicing speaking with yourself.
This might feel a little odd at first, I admit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's surprisingly effective. Try having conversations with your reflection in the mirror. Talk about your day, your plans, your opinions on, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Or simply describe what you're doing as you go about your routine. Okay, I'm making a cup of tea. Now I'm checking the weather. It's a completely pressure-free environment to practice forming sentences and just getting comfortable with the sound of your own English voice.
No judgment. Just pure practice. Love it. Now, what about those moments in a real conversation when the perfect word just vanishes from your mind? That happens to everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where the 3-second rule sounds incredibly useful.
It really is. The 3-second rule is a strategy to help you navigate those momentary blanks without letting them derail the whole conversation.
Oh?
If you can't immediately recall a specific word, give yourself a very brief pause, maybe 3 seconds roughly, to try and think of a synonym, a related term, or just a way to describe what you mean using other words you know.
Circumlocution.
Exactly. It keeps the conversational momentum going and shows you're resourceful with your language skills.
That's a brilliant tip, linguistic agility. And finally, in terms of actionable techniques, actively participating in conversations seems absolutely vital, even if it feels a bit nerve-wracking at first.
Oh, absolutely critical. Our sources consistently highlighted the importance of real-time interaction. Joining online English-speaking groups, participating in voice chats, engaging in discussions on forums or social media, these all provide invaluable opportunities to put your English into practice in a real communicative setting.
And you get exposure to different accents too, right?
Exactly. Different accents, various speaking styles. You learn to adapt and understand a much wider spectrum of English.
Okay, so we've gathered some powerful techniques for smoother speaking. But to truly sound more fluent and natural, it's not just about the pace, is it? It's also about the richness and nuance of your language.
Precisely. Expanding your vocabulary and incorporating more natural expressions is key to taking your fluency to the next level. One area that often marks a shift towards more natural-sounding English is using phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs. Tricky but important.
They can be. What's interesting is how much more idiomatic and less formal English often becomes when you use them appropriately. For instance, instead of always saying continue, the phrasal verb carry on often feels more natural in everyday conversation.
Right. Those combinations of a verb and a preposition or adverb that create a new meaning, they definitely add a layer of authenticity. And then there are idioms and more colorful expressions.
Yeah, these are those figurative, often non-literal phrases that native speakers use all the time to add emphasis or, color to their speech. Think of saying, it's raining cats and dogs.
Instead of just, it's raining very heavily.
Exactly. Learning and using these kinds of expressions can really elevate your spoken English and make you sound more like a native speaker, or at least more comfortable and natural.
They definitely inject personality into your language. So how can our listeners effectively learn and start using these kinds of words and phrases? It's not always easy to just pick them up.
Well, consistent exposure is paramount. Immersing yourself in English content, whether it's reading English books, listening to podcasts like this one, watching news broadcasts or movies, all these things naturally expose you to new vocabulary and expressions within a context.
So you see how they're actually used.
Right. Pay close attention to the words and phrases that are used repeatedly or that sound particularly natural and impactful to you.
And to make that passive exposure more active and intentional, the idea of keeping a vocabulary journal was frequently recommended.
Oh, yes. This is a tried and true, highly effective method. When you encounter a new word or expression you want to learn, jot it down in a dedicated notebook or even a digital document.
Okay.
Crucially, include its meaning and, even more importantly, write down 1 or 2 example sentences showing how it's used in a real context. Regularly reviewing your vocabulary journal will significantly help these new words and phrases become part of your active vocabulary.
Makes sense. Reinforces the learning. Okay, so we're actively building our vocabulary, but pronunciation is another critical piece of the puzzle that we really can't overlook.
Absolutely. Even if your grammar is impeccable and your vocabulary is extensive, if your pronunciation is unclear, it can significantly hinder effective communication.
Right. People might just not understand you.
Exactly. In some cases, it can even lead to misunderstandings, which can be frustrating for both you and the listener.
So where should learners really focus their efforts when it comes to refining pronunciation? There's so much to learn.
Well, our sources suggest focusing on those commonly mispronounced words first. There are certain words in English that learners from many different language backgrounds often find challenging.
Any examples spring to mind?
Oh, sure. Words like comfortable.
Yeah.
People often struggle with that middle syllable. Or schedule the sesk or she sound, depending on dialect.
Yeah.
Even entrepreneur.
Ah, yes. That one trips people up.
Identifying these common stumbling blocks and dedicating specific practice time to their pronunciation can make a noticeable difference in your overall clarity.
That's really practical advice. Target the tricky spots. And thankfully, there are some excellent technological tools available to assist with this, right? We're lucky in that regard.
Yes, the digital age has provided us with some fantastic resources. There are highly effective pronunciation apps like LSE Speak or websites like Forvo, where you can hear native speakers saying words.
Oh, Forvo's great.
Yeah, these offer personalized feedback, sometimes using AI, and allow you to hear native speakers articulating words and phrases clearly. They can be incredibly valuable for fine-tuning your accent.
And for those who prefer a more traditional, maybe slightly more fun approach, I recall a suggestion about using tongue twisters.
Exactly. Tongue twisters, like the classic "She sells seashells" by the seashore, are a fun and surprisingly effective way to improve your articulation.
Gets your mouth moving.
It really does. It helps you pronounce sounds clearly and in quick succession. They essentially help you train the specific muscles involved in speech.
That sounds like a great way to warm up your vocal cords. And lastly, on pronunciation, the simple act of observing native speakers as they talk was mentioned. Watching them.
Yes, this adds a crucial visual component. Pay attention to how native speakers physically move their lips, their tongue, their jaw when they pronounce different sounds. Trying to consciously mimic these physical movements can help you develop a better feel for the mechanics of English pronunciation.
So look and listen. Okay? We're now equipped with strategies for speaking more smoothly, expanding our expression, refining pronunciation. But ultimately, that inner confidence we talked about earlier really blossoms through actively using the language, doesn't it?
Precisely. Real-world practice is the very foundation upon which confidence is built. The more opportunities you create for yourself to speak English in real-life situations, the more comfortable and ultimately more confident you will become in your abilities. There's really no substitute.
But taking that first step into real-world conversations can feel like a significant hurdle for some people. It can be quite intimidating. Where do you suggest they even begin?
Our sources recommend starting small, definitely. Low pressure, low stakes interactions.
Like what specifically?
Simple things like ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, even just a simple, "Excuse me, where is?" Or initiating a brief greeting or introduction with someone new. "Hi, how are you?"
Okay.
These small, successful interactions build positive momentum and gradually reduce the anxiety associated with speaking in more demanding situations later on.
That makes the prospect feel much less daunting. Baby steps. And what about actively seeking out connections with others who are also learning or who are native English speakers?
Oh, that's huge. Joining English language meetups or language exchange events, if they're accessible in your area, can be incredibly supportive and effective.
Yeah.
You'll connect with fellow learners who understand the challenges firsthand, which is really comforting. And you'll have valuable opportunities to converse with native speakers who can offer encouragement and maybe gentle feedback in a friendly environment.
That sounds like a fantastic way to build a supportive community around your language learning journey. And for those times when in-person practice isn't immediately available or maybe feels too big a step initially, what are some other proactive ways to build that confidence muscle?
Engaging in role-playing different scenarios can be remarkably helpful. Pretend you're participating in a job interview, or you're a customer service agent assisting a client, or just having a casual chat with a new friend.
Okay, act it out.
Yeah, actively playing out these different situations allows you to rehearse your vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation in a context that feels relevant. It can significantly boost your preparedness for real-world encounters. It's almost like a mental rehearsal.
Like a dress rehearsal for real conversations. I like that. And a slightly less nerve-wracking method for gauging your progress is by recording yourself speaking.
Yes, recording yourself, even though it might feel a little awkward or even cringeworthy at first when you listen back.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Right. But it can be an incredibly powerful tool for self-assessment. When you listen back objectively, you might become more aware of areas where you tend to hesitate or where your pronunciation could be clearer or maybe where you could use more varied vocabulary. It provides invaluable insights for targeted improvement.
So it really boils down to consistent effort and actively seeking out and creating opportunities to use the language in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
Now, to sustain that momentum and navigate the inevitable challenges, cultivating a positive and resilient mindset seems absolutely essential. We touched on this earlier, but it bears repeating.
Absolutely. Viewing language learning as an ongoing journey of exploration and growth, rather than some fixed destination that you either reach or don't, is crucial for maintaining long-term motivation.
Yep.
There will naturally be periods of rapid progress and then times when you feel like you've hit a plateau. Embracing that entire process with its ups and downs is really key to sustained success.
And setting goals that are both realistic and specific seems to play a significant role in staying motivated and tracking your progress, doesn't it? Rather than just get fluent.
Definitely. Instead of aiming for that vague notion of perfect fluency, set yourself clear, achievable targets. For example, aim to confidently hold a 5-minute conversation on a familiar topic without significant hesitation by next month. Or learn and actively use 5 new phrasal verbs this week.
Right. Tangible goals.
These concrete goals make your progress feel more real, more tangible, and less overwhelming.
That makes perfect sense, breaking down the larger goal into manageable steps.
Yeah.
And it's equally important to acknowledge and, well, celebrate those smaller victories along the way, isn't it?
Absolutely crucial. Make sure you take the time to recognize and celebrate every improvement you make, no matter how small it might seem. Did you understand a new word in an English movie without subtitles? Were you able to have a short, successful conversation with a native speaker at the shop? Acknowledge and appreciate these wins. It helps to reinforce positive feelings about your language learning journey and keeps you motivated to continue.
It's all about nurturing that positive feedback loop we mentioned. And even when life gets hectic, it sounds like consistency in your practice, even short bursts, is often more effective than sporadic, intense study sessions.
That's absolutely right. Our sources really emphasize this. Even dedicating just 15 minutes of focused practice each day can yield remarkable results over time. Consistency truly trumps intensity when it comes to language learning. It's about making it a regular, sustainable habit that fits into your daily routine.
Like brushing your teeth almost.
Kind of. And finally, creating an environment where English is more present in your daily life can really accelerate the learning process, almost without you realizing it sometimes. Oh yeah, immersion. Even small acts of immersion.
Exactly.
Consider changing the language settings on your phone and computer to English. Follow English-speaking content creators on social media. Listen to English language music and podcasts. Surround yourself with the language in various forms.
It creates more opportunities for passive learning and constantly reinforces what you're actively studying. It keeps the language top of mind.
So, to bring all these insights together, it sounds like the journey towards greater fluency and confidence in English is really a dynamic combination of consistent and targeted practice using effective techniques, all underpinned by cultivating a positive and growth-oriented mindset.
That's a perfect distillation of what we've explored today. It's not about finding some secret shortcut, really, but about actively engaging with the language in diverse ways, being patient and kind to yourself throughout the process, and importantly, celebrating every step forward you take. This has been such an insightful exploration. Now, for you, our listener, we want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Take a moment to consider, which of these techniques resonates most strongly with you right now? Which one feels like the most accessible first step you could take, maybe even today?
Yeah, what's one small thing?
And perhaps think about one small opportunity you might have to initiate a brief English conversation today. Even if it's just asking a quick question to someone, maybe posting a short comment online in English.
Just dip your toe in.
Exactly. Remember, the path to fluency is an active and personal one, and the insights we've shared are really just a starting point, a springboard to fuel your own unique exploration and growth in the English language. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us.